as much as I like the sword design and everything on the DVD, this really just captures the mood. I love the profile picture of Robert E. Lee, played by Robert Duvall. Jeff Daniels looks really good. And Stephen Lang in the back. It just really looks cool. And then we have Gods and Generals written in amazing font with this funky little thing back here. I really like it. The extended director's cut. Really cool. And then we have a really epic picture at the bottom of the enemies charging at each other. Here's the Confederate forces, and here's the Union forces. Now, here's my one complaint with the cover, and only a Civil War buff will notice this. Now look carefully at the uniforms of both sides. They are both Confederate forces, just for some reason they photoshopped an American flag over here. That's kind of sad. I mean, I understand why they could have done that, or it was just a simple mistake, but any Civil War buff will notice that, like, right off, and I did harp on that. Now, a professor said one of the most remarkable movies of the decade. This is true, even though critics panned this movie, which I don't understand why. This movie, on its own, is breathtaking, but I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. As I said, this has over 80 minutes of footage added back in. I'm just going to read like what has been added in back here. Never before seen. We have a new subplot with the radicalization of John Wilkes Booth and the hatred for Abraham Lincoln. We have new scenes with Jeff Daniels as Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, one of my all-time favorite heroes. More scenes with General Jackson, and of course the entire segment of Antietam, America's bloodiest day. Single most bloodiest day. And it's really cool. I really just love that. Now in the theatrical version it felt very unpaced, because it focused way more on the southern side of the story. Here we get a good balance of the story, and it's less jarred up, if you know what I mean. It's less sort of chopped up. This one has more of a flow to it, and really just adds a lot more characterization to not only General Jackson, who in my opinion is one of the most three-dimensional characters I've ever seen in a film, but also Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain and Robert E. Lee. It's just really, really cool. Now, once again, I'm going to complain about the special features. And the special features are lame. The two audio commentary tracks are really, really bad. They just, again, it has the same issue as in Gettysburg. They only talk for a little bit throughout the movie and have long periods of silence. Again, I would have liked to have seen one where there was historians talking about the accuracy of the film, and then one where the directors were talking about the making of the movie. I would really like that. That would be interesting. And the special features are the same as on the DVD. Nothing really to talk about other than a couple featurettes and the history of Thomas Stonewall Jackson's life. Which those are interesting, don't get me wrong, they're better than nothing, but I was a little bit disappointed. Now, I actually like the design of this better than the Gettysburg one. I really love how much more darker it is, because the movie is way more bleak in tone than Gettysburg, and so that's all I have to say about it. Now on the inside, because both of these have the same designs on the middle, in the middle, I am just going to talk about this one. What I find really funny is that the movie is actually on this side. I expected the movie to be on this side, like how normally they would be on a DVD. But I just found it interesting. And again, this is the Blu-ray, and the special features are on a DVD. They are not high definition, but I wasn't really caring about that anyways. So yeah, that's what we look at. We have a great view of the stars and bars, and of course our national flag over here. Just really well laid out. And then of course I have the same complaint as I do with the the Gettysburg director's cut case. Is that it's really, 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 really flimsy, and not really, it doesn't feel like it's extremely well put together. And then, let me close this up here, we have on the back a great view of what I believe it would be on Gettysburg, of Union soldiers firing a volley during Pickett's charge against the sun setting. It just looks really, really, really beautiful. And then of course on the side here, we have the same wording on the front: Gettysburg Director's Cut and Gods and Generals Extended Director's Cut Limited Edition. And down here we have stars. Same thing over here. Same thing right there. Yeah, that's really all I gotta say about that. Now, once again, here's just a look at the entire box set and its total glory. It's just an amazing set. And now, since I have stopped making movie reviews, I would really just like to, because a lot of people do, and rightfully so, compare these two amazing and epic films. There is, when I'm watching the theatrical cuts, I do have one I prefer, and that is Gettysburg, and I still prefer Gettysburg over Gods and Generals. But the more I watch them, and this is even with the theatrical cuts of both of these films, which actually, before I go on, this is the best director's cut I've ever seen. Anyways, I really found myself having a hard time comparing these two. Now, this is an amazing film and my all-time favorite war film, as well as having my second all-time favorite soundtrack to it. But let's just look at it. Now, that's a bit with my personal bias for the love of the Civil War getting in my way. But let's just look at it as a film itself for a little bit. It's still remarkable. Not only is it historically accurate down to like the last detail in terms of like the uniforms and stuff like that, even filming on the actual ground at Gettysburg, arguably America's most hallowed ground, it's just really well put together. The cinematography is good. As I said, the music is epic. Everything about this film is good, and the director's cut only adds more to what I already appreciated and loved about this film. Now, Gettysburg, Gods and Generals, on the other hand, was panned. And I mean panned, by not only critics, but in the box office as well. This is one of the largest tanks in the history of cinema. And it's really too bad, because even with the theatrical cut, this movie was breathtaking. Now, with the case of Gettysburg, this feels very much like a war film, and only a war film. Gods and Generals has, if you ask me, a little bit more than that. It really shows the horror of the Civil War, which is something that I want to see more of. Though, yes, I still prefer Gettysburg over Gods and Generals. It has been, the gap between the two has been lessened by the extended director's cut. The director's cut is so much better than the theatrical cut, and I wasn't actually expecting it to be that much better. But I mean, this film now has been completely re-edited. Not only are the scenes of the theatrical cut still in there, but music cues have changed, sound effects have been added in, and it's just so freaking good. I love this disc, and I just love it. Now, let's throw out my bias for the Civil War side, and let's look at Gods and Generals as a movie itself. It is breathtaking. The dialogue is so good in this movie. Everything about this film is good. There's good cinematography, some really good action scenes. Antietam, the Battle of Manassas, Fredericksburg, and Chancellorsville. It's just really, it's an amazing film. And the soundtrack for this, this has one of my all-time favorite soundtracks in it. It's not quite as good as Gettysburg, but John Frizzell's and Randy Edelman's score is amazing in this film. And I do not understand why people hate this movie so much. This movie is, in my opinion, the most underrated film ever made, and I have seen a lot of underrated films. So, those are my opinions on the box set. Now, my final thoughts of the box set. There isn't really much I could complain about other than the special features, and so on and so forth. What I really liked about this was that it is so honorable to those who have fallen in the Civil War, and it's about time that they got this recognition. Now, with the monstrosity coming out called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, it's going to be sad because a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Abraham Lincoln is that fictitious hero who killed vampires, you know, and that the Confederate Army was nothing but a bunch of vampires that wanted to suck all of our blood. Now that is sad, and I will not support Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer at all, because Abraham Lincoln was the president that held the Union together. And it is sad that people are bastardizing our history in such a way, because now people aren't getting the education that they need to form their own opinions on the situation in the Civil War, because it is such a tragic but yet so important time in our history where differences in opinions collided, and in the process 600,000 Americans died. And yes, and I mean Americans. It's just so sad that Hollywood is making such crap as this, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, that they're totally destroying the idea of what the Civil War was about. And it wasn't all about slavery, though yes, that was a part of it. It was asking the questions of what is more important, having a strong federal government or having the rights of the states. It is so important that we remember this. And these two movies allow us to remember that. It throws the situations right back in our face. And this is why I recommend these two movies to the highest possible recommendation. Now, in terms of movie itself, Gettysburg, you could watch the theatrical cut and still call it a good film. And you can do that with Gods and Generals, but only a Civil War buff can truly say that about Gods and Generals. So you could watch either version and still get the same experience as I got watching the extended director's cut. Gods and Generals, on the other hand, if you watch the theatrical cut and then watch this version, you will want to watch this version for the rest of your life. This version is so much better, and I can't even begin to talk about how much better I love the extended director's cut more than the theatrical cut version. Now, I actually would recommend watching this one more than the theatrical cut. Normally I would recommend, this is what I normally do too, I watch the theatrical cut first and then watch the director's cut. I say skip the theatrical cut and just go straight to this. This is an amazing, epic, phenomenally great film. I just can't say enough about how breathtaking and epic this film is. So overall, this is an amazing set, other than it having just a few flaws. The coloration is good. The quality of the Blu-ray is good. Even the quality on the DVD isn't that bad. It's higher than most DVDs. It is just an amazing set, but very, very expensive. The cheapest one I was able to find ran at about $100. Well, let me tell you what, it's worth every penny. Worth every penny. And even if you are not a Civil War buff and want to learn about the Civil War, watch these. I cannot say enough about these movies. These two films are definitely on my top 10 favorites. So I would consider it a sin to give this box set anything less than a 4 out of 4 stars. Go out and buy it.